everybody. I'm back. I want to talk about The Boys. It just finished its final season earlier this year, and I'll be honest, I was not expecting to like the ending as much as I did. For a show that embraces the absurd and goes seemingly as over the top as it can, with violence, shit talk, and political satire,
Victimize an innocent man because I guess that's just cool to do to white guys nowadays.
it did a good job of making character arcs that, well, make sense, and leaving us with some bittersweet yet satisfying conclusions. Given the final confrontation of the story, as well as how the show portrays heroes throughout, I found myself very interested in the concept of heroism itself. The show seems to start by asking the question, what if our heroes were corrupt? And ends up asking, what if our very idea of heroism is corrupt? Everyone has different ideas about it. Bob views heroes as marketable products, Starlight views them as honest protectors, and Homelander is a murder-happy, milk-bathing psycho, so we don't really care what he thinks. But I want to focus on the two main protagonists, Hughie and Butcher, to help understand their specific variations of heroism and perhaps, hopefully, the concept as a whole. Welcome to this edition of Crit Chance on The Boys. What is a hero? Heroism. Movies and shows have been telling us for decades that it's good to be a hero. But what does it actually mean? Well, the answer depends on who you ask. 19th century Scottish writer Thomas Carlyle, who wrote extensively on heroes, put some ideas together that ended up being known as the great man theory of history. He believes civilization is moved forward by heroic figures such as prophets, kings, and religious leaders. So a Carlyle hero is powerful and world-shaping, the kind of person you might expect from most modern pop culture. And this perspective, hero worship is inevitable and even noble, since the masses have a predisposition to imitating these great figures. I see this view as what the show is calling into question from the start. Homelander is admired by the masses as a great man, to everyone that doesn't know him. By contrast, whether it be physical or by political status, Hughie has virtually no power, let alone the near invincibility of Captain Mommy issues. And then, of course, we have 20th century writer Joseph Campbell and his famous hero's journey. Don't know about it, very basically, he used myths to make the point that most heroic stories follow the same pattern. He distilled it down to 12 steps that go something like, our hero begins an ordinary life, something disrupts his life. He hesitates, fears, or resists at first, then he gets some guidance, and he enters the unknown world. Once in that world, he learns the rules, gets close to the main danger/truth, has a big confrontation or some kind of symbolic death, gains power or truth, or transforms in some way. That newly gained power is resisted by the world. There's a final transformation, and then our changed hero brings his wisdom back to help others. I agree this works for many stories, but The Boys is a bit more subversive than your average superhero show, to put it mildly. A few heroic transformations do happen with some of the characters, but they don't quite fit the mold of Campbellian hero. Hughie seems to make this journey at first. He has an ordinary life at the electronics store. He loses his girlfriend to A-Train, and then rejects Butcher's violent methods. But this is as far as the hero's journey seems to go for petite Hughie. Since Butcher is a corrupt mentor, Hughie stays in Stage 3 and continues to refuse the call. Not because he's afraid of death. In fact, he repeatedly shows courage despite a gruesome Mortal Kombat-esque murder being a very likely scenario. Also, despite his father's continuous push towards safety.
Don't have to fight. You never have.
His reluctance comes from his fear of ending up like Butcher. And even though he falls off a little bit along the way, he pretty much stays like this the entire show and has a relatively flat arc. In the traditional flat arc, the characters around the protagonist are the ones that change. And that does occur for all the characters, including Homelander, who becomes more psycho as the show progresses. All the characters except Butcher, who also has a flat arc, just a negative one. What interests me is how the beliefs between these two characters clash. Most characters think that heroism is about having the power to destroy your enemy, but Butcher takes it a step further by considering himself above morality entirely.
You're asking me to kill myself?
Although it's nowhere near the derangement of Homelander, he views himself as justified because of the danger posed by the Supes. Is it ever okay to use evil to fight evil? And if so, when does it go too far? An age-old question still being debated today. This, to me, nicely fits the problems faced by my favorite philosopher, Albert Camus, in his 1951 book, The Rebel. Camus lived through World War II, the rise of fascism, Stalinism, and all sorts of ideological extremes. In the book, Camus outlines the terrifying fact that most of the movements of his time began by fighting injustice, but eventually became just as cruel as the thing they fought. The rebels sought to answer the question, what gives human beings the right to rebel, and what limits should that rebellion have? For Camus, any real rebellion starts with affirming basic human dignity. When you say no to some form of oppression, you are essentially saying, there is something in me that deserves dignity. He writes, I rebel, therefore we exist. The key insight here is that rebellion reveals shared humanity, meaning the rebel only fights because human life matters. So as soon as a rebellion starts treating humans as disposable, it ceases to be a real rebellion and becomes another oppressive force worthy of being rebelled against. Mr. Canary in the Coal Mine Hughie believes very strongly in the care we must take to avoid becoming the villains we are trying to stop. He's the hero that preserves humanity when everyone else is losing theirs, which opposes Butcher, who is perfectly willing to throw his humanity to the side. If Butcher is the anti-hero, Hughie is the anti-anti-hero. Two antis. He declines Butcher's all soups are monsters worldview and eventually tells Annie the truth about Compound V, as well as confessing his own deception. And then Butcher f***ing shoots her. In the season 1 finale, Hughie goes to rescue Frenchie and MM instead of following Butcher into his obsessive showdown with Homelander, literally choosing saving people over vengeance. One of the best examples is A-Train. With every reason to hate him, he treats A-Train as someone who can still choose to do good instead of merely a threat to eliminate as Butcher does. He gives Victoria Newman the same respect, trying to persuade her to walk away from Homelander's plot, though he fails. Butcher literally rips her in half. The missing piece is limitations. A rebellion without limits loses its moral justification faster than Sam Winchester can accidentally smash into Seth Rogen. If the boys are rebels in the Camus sense, Hughie functions as the limit, the necessary interruption and reflection, the line you cannot cross. Without him, revenge becomes the ideology, and justice very quickly turns into extermination.
Please, Butcher.
The greatest example of all is the final fight. Not the very justified and very satisfying killing of Homelander, the fight that comes shortly after between Hughie and Butcher. It's so tragic because Hughie loves Butcher. He wants to save all the innocent soups, including his girlfriend, from being murdered. But he also wants to save his friend from committing this evil act. I liked it so much because, although they both had flat arcs, one canceling the other out felt like they were both complete. And although Butcher seemed the villain in that moment, during his funeral in the next scene, Hughie says,
He made the world a safer place, which makes him a hero.
so maybe being a hero really is that simple. Or maybe modern heroism requires the moral scruples of the Camusian rebel. Tell me what you think in the comments. And please let me know what movie or show you'd like me to do a screen break on next. Till next time, y'all. Peace.